Hi everyone, welcome to our INFJ Epic Life Masterclass. Every single time we launch a new bootcamp round, I'm making sure that we take the time and we have a masterclass so I can give you a little bit more insights about the pillars. You can ask your questions if there's still some things that are on your mind that you want to know about, because I believe like those pillars are really fundamental for INFJs in particular. And I've experienced so much in the last 7 years that I've been an INFJ life coach, and I really want to take the time to bring it closer to you. So first off, take your time. We're going to wait a couple of minutes, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, just for people to join. Get something to drink, get something to write, and then we can start. So hi, I see Batisha, I see Brandon, I see Linda. Hi. Perfect. So, what do I want to tell you? Oh yeah, another, just from a logistical standpoint. So if we have any kind of technical issues, first off, let me know. Second of all, if something's going to happen, it hasn't happened in a long time, I'm going to publish the new link to the new live stream in the comments, not in the live chat. That just to begin with. And other than that, okay, so our boot camp has launched, right? So you can get access to it now. From now until Monday, you have access to the early bird price if you use the code. If you haven't received it yet via mail, you can join, you can just sign up on the early bird price link. The link is in the description. And for everybody who joins the bootcamp within this masterclass, or even before, a couple of people have already joined before this. So for everybody who joins bootcamp within this time, you're going to enter to win one coaching session with me. So we've done this for the last 3 bootcamps. It's been very beneficial. It's going to be, I'm not going to pick anybody particular. It works with a program, so it randomly just picks one person. And then we're going to have a full 45-minute session where we can talk about what you are what you have going on in your life and how I can help you. So, so as I see, it looks like you can see me, you can hear me. That's great. The other thing I want to tell you about, and this is really going to be quickly before we get into the topic, because I really want to make sure that today is not like that you feel, oh, we're just talking about bootcamp. We are, but we're mainly talking about the 5 pillars. And no matter where you are in your journey, if you say, okay, I'm ready to take on bootcamp, I'm ready to, join a community, to really have the experience and the encouragement and all of that around me, great. If you say, I'm still doubtful, well, let's talk about the pillars, because you can benefit from them at whatever stage you're at. That's why I'm saying, if you haven't done it so far, download the free poster, get a field of those, or a field for the 5 pillars, because they are so important for INFJs. And I want to tell you why. So the 5 pillars are physical energy management, relationship management, wealth management, vocation, and priority management. And we're going to go into them in on detail. But the thing is this, I had this one comment, I think it was on a reel on Instagram, and somebody said, why is that even an INFJ thing? Isn't that for everybody? That's stupid. No, let's talk about it clearly, because, for example, physical energy management is not something that I'm saying, oh, we all want to be healthy. Physical energy management comes from the place that if we want to step out of our comfort zone, we as INFJs have to make sure that we tackle having more physical energy, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take, making priorities, as in we as INFJs who have a low SE, we have to make sure that we don't do all the things, we do the right things, that's priority management. And second of all, we have to optimize our physical energy as much as possible, so we can use that energy to do the things that are not, that are not urgent but are important in your life, right? So that's what I what I want you to really look into, and what I want you to understand. And as I said, we're going to go into them in detail. But yeah, those are just fundamentals. And I want to also tell you why I have come up with these 5 pillars, why they have worked. So I've been, as I said, an INFJ life coach for the last 7 years. I've had hundreds of one-on-one coaching sessions with INFJs. We've been doing bootcamp for 2 years. And my whole life was a transformation in itself. So before this, I was in consulting, I was doing banking, I was in a completely different field, and I was okay in it, but it wasn't my purpose. And I felt life was happening outside of me. I wasn't happy. It felt like really I lost, although maybe on paper it looked all right. And then I started getting into it. I learned so much just for my own self, and I started transforming, and I saw results, and I never saw anything written about it, because particularly at that time when I started, the INFJ community was full of poor me, I'm a snowflake, being an INFJ is a death sentence, that kind of thing. And I found this way for me that really helped me to change something in a way that I never thought possible. And then I started to really go into it and figure out, is this really just something that I experience, or can others benefit from it as well? And so with time, with, talking to so many INFJs, it came really down to those 5 pillars, that if we focus on them, we will make progress in all 5 of them, continuously and simultaneously. And our main goal is to really change our identity, right? And what I mean with identity is, you don't have to change who you are, but if you, for example, feel like, okay, I have all these dreams, but I'm not taking action, things are not happening. What we want to achieve is that you become somebody for whom doing these things seems easy, right? For example, working out, we don't really talk about it as in, oh, you need to work out in order to work out, but just, let's take it as an example because it's so obvious. It's not that you want people to say, oh, I work out and then, my body's going to be great. Well, everybody knows this on paper. But what is difficult is to actually become somebody who wants to work out, for whom this is a pleasure, for whom this isn't hard work. And that's exactly the same thing when it comes to creating an INFJ epic life on your terms. We have to get to a place where doing the things that are going to make a difference in your life actually excite you. And that's when you start getting up in the morning and are excited about life, are excited about what's going on and what's going to happen. And the great thing about bootcamp is that we're not only going to talk about all of these areas, in detail. We're going to say, okay, let's apply this to your life. Let's see how this is working. And it's much more important to learn how to become somebody who can take the next step in improving, their sleep, in improving their wealth, and improving their vocation. And to talk about, for example, with wealth, I had somebody write the other day, okay, how can an INFJ care about these things? Well, wealth is freedom. It's not about having all kinds of money so you can buy materialistic things. It's about being able to say, I don't want to work that job. It's about being able to say, I can allow myself to do this thing that really brings me joy. I'm not really constrained in the situation. And changing that mindset around it, not seeing it as, I'm an INFJ, I want to help people, but, and so I can't want that other thing. Right? We just got to find healthy role models, making things happen, and really get to a new place. Okay. So John says is wealth is my weakest pillar. It was mine too. I have to admit, it was probably the last one I worked in myself, and it wasn't even that I wasn't making good money. It was okay. I was doing really well before I started coaching, but the point was I just didn't care about it. So I blew it all. I didn't know why that should be something that I should strive for. I was always like, yeah, I don't care about it. And it like I really took my time to learn how I can want it in a place where it's full of an integrity with me, where I feel safe, I feel secure, I feel excited about it. It gives me opportunity to help. We're also talking about like how wealth can fuel your vocation. Like when you have something that is dear to your heart, that you can like really make that even bigger when you like first off make sure that you feel safe. Then that you have money to invest in that, in your pursuit and what you want to do and how you want to contribute to the world. So these are all things. So Alexa says, yeah, I like the idea that there's a good amount of INFJs out there. Yes, thankfully that's really the case. I'm so excited that things are really moving, things are moving around. We're seeing this of, let's be positive. Let's make things happen more and more. And I'm so glad that we in my program gets to contribute in that. And I see just success stories every single day. And that's why I'm so excited to share this with you and to, just spread the word. There's no such thing as that's the solution. That's the one thing. There are so many things that could work. What we're doing definitely works. But it's just not the only one. So everybody who tells you, oh, that's the only way it's going to work, it's not. I can just tell you this has worked for me. This has worked for all the INFJs that I've worked with. The boot camp is, for example, something that it's lifetime access. So once you're in it, you're in it. And every single time we have so many alumni that join because every single time you get to, upgrade your current level, you get to the next level of what you want to achieve. And on top of that, you see that you're not alone. You see that you sort of feel like there's some kind of challenge you have. And it's a different kind of challenge than all your friends are having, but it's there. And then you see when you're in this environment, oh, I'm not the only one. There are other INFJs that are going through the same thing. We're experiencing the same thing and we're helping each other get to the next level. That's the best thing. Like you see the success stories, right? So I have, for example, just 2 testimonials I want to show you. I think I'll put them here. Yeah, I think it's not going to blow up, but these are just some testimonials, and I'm getting like emails every single time because people really see, things are changing in their lives, and that's why I'm so excited about it. Bootcamp is a life changer. My happiness increased, my wealth increased, my health improved, my relationships improved, my comeback started, and I'm winning again. Great people, like you have a community here. Find yourself and win big. And Leo says, thank you so much for showing me how to live an INFJ epic life. Truly transformational. So we want to make sure that this isn't just, one thing that you hear once and it motivates you. Those videos where it's like you listen to them and they motivate you and then life goes back to, to default. That's not what we are about. What we are all about is to really change how you feel about your life, how much control you have over your life. And the 5 pillars are really the things that are going to move you forward because, think of it like that. That there are things outside of you that you would want. It feels like life is happening outside of you. You're not in full control and you don't know what the first step is. Or even if you knew it, it seems like too big of a step. Our main thing is to say, what is the smallest step necessary to make that transformation in your mind? Sleep, for example, pillar 1. Sleep is important to make sure, if your sleep is on point, great, let's go to the next thing. But this is one of the points in pillar 1 that we talk about so much because it's the easiest way to increase your physical energy that will then help you to take the steps. Because this, you come back after work, you're totally tired, there's no way you can do anything to change your life, right? Or same thing on Saturdays or Sundays. But we do have to take steps in order to change something if our current life doesn't represent, where we want to be. So what we work on, if you, for example, are somebody who goes to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? And your goal is to go to bed at 10. We're not going to aim for 10 o'clock. What we're going to aim for at first is 2:30. And you're going to say, 2:30? How's that going to make a difference? Because the main goal isn't to reach 10 o'clock. The main goal is to teach you that you're in control of turning yourself from somebody for whom 3 a.m. is normal to somebody for whom 2:30 a.m. is normal. That shift is going to make the difference. Because once you learn, oh, I am in control of this, and you see that this has become your new normal, this isn't something that requires willpower, right? We don't want you to need willpower. We just want small changes, things that get you out of your comfort zone, and but don't overwhelm you. Before you know it, 2:30 is just as easy as 3. And then you can take bigger steps. And before you know it, you're going to 10 o'clock, like, you're at 10 or 11 or whatever time you want, and it feels normal. It doesn't feel like it's hard. Like, always think about it like this. If it feels like you couldn't do this for the rest of your life, you're overextending yourself. I don't feel like it's too much to brush my teeth every day. That's just who I am. That's what I do. But it would feel like not something I could do if I say, okay, I have to work out an hour every day. That would overextend who I am and my identity, right? But if you turn this into becoming somebody for whom it's normal to do these things, to take the right steps, everything changes, right? Remember, we're INFJs. We have the vision. We don't need to do all the things. We don't need to be an ESTP. We don't need to be like full throttle all the time. We just have to do like the right things, right? That's going to make a difference. So, so if you have any questions, by the way, like write a Q in front of it. There's so many comments, which I really, really appreciate, but of course I can't read them all. So if you have any questions that I can go into, just write a Q in front of them. So what we're going to do now is, like, after we go through questions concerning pillar 1, we're going to go to pillar 2, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this. And then we're going to keep on going. So we really make sure that we go through the pillars, that you get an idea, that you can implement it in your life one way or another. So somebody asked, what time do you go to sleep? I go to bed at like 10 o'clock. Like, I have a small daughter, so sometimes we even go like at 9 o'clock, but sorry, it just blurred out. We'll fix it. But that's a very specific scenario because, as I said, I have a daughter that's under 1. So we wake up really early, but normally like at 10 o'clock. And I've been going to 10, before it was 11 and 10 o'clock, probably for the last 5 years. And it has been perfect for me because I never feel like I'm missing out something. I'm so excited about the day. And this isn't something that I always used to do. So I really learned this, and it has helped me tremendously. I never feel like, oh, I'm forcing myself to go to bed. I wake up early, I get all my exciting stuff done during the day, and then I wind down and have a good night. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, here we have a question. Okay. Do you have any breathing or meditation practices you use and you can share? Yes. So there are, and we talk about this in bootcamp as well. I believe that for us INFJs, 2 things are very important. The one is visualization. And it might say, okay, but we're so good with being visionaries, but we're visionaries in any kind of area that we put ourselves into. So it can be a vision of daydreaming about, let's say, a person that you don't have a future with. It can be daydreaming about a job that's not going anywhere, that your boss finally recognizes what you have to offer, or whatever it is. So we do have the capacity to visualize, but we still have to practice what we're going to visualize. Like, I'm personally a huge fan of guided meditations. There are so many free meditations on YouTube. I like the YouTube channel Great Meditations. And, if you type, I don't know exactly, but they're like, visualization, the perfect day, stuff like this. And you really get to visualize, okay, where do I see myself in, 5 years or next year? What are really my goals? Like, it's so necessary for us to define this. Like, even if you say, well, I don't know exactly, or why is this so important? For us INFJs, it is important. That power that you have to really direct it towards something. And in the beginning, it might not really excite you. You might say, yeah, I would like to be a lawyer, just as an example. I like to be a lawyer. What are the steps I would have to take? Yeah, this is probably the most exciting thing I can think of, but it doesn't really excite me too much. The more you visualize it, the more it's going to excite you. The more you think about how is it going to be when you wake up, what you're going to wear, where you're going to go, right? I mean, this isn't a typical INFJ dream job. Maybe it is for some of you. It wasn't for me, but this was just an example. Or you say, I want to write a book. I want to be an author. I want to be able to inspire people. Like really start like looking into this and honing into this and making sure that this is what you want. The other thing, and I don't know if this is like really breathing or meditation, it falls into physical energy because all of this like really helps you to get the power. But I'm a huge fan of decluttering. Like this is going to change your life. We need to make sure that you remove as much junk out of your life as possible. It starts with your home, but it really continues with thoughts. Making sure that all of those fears, all of these worries, things like this don't really pop up into your mind. And the great thing is you can think of it like this. Every single time you do meditation, it's a practice. That's why it's called meditation practice. So you start meditating, what's going to happen, particularly if you're not trained? Your mind will wander off. It will either go into to-dos, into, oh, what did that person say about me? Or worries, or whatever it is. And what you do is you teach yourself to go back to the thoughts you want. That's what it's all about. Like, as I said, I'm not even that good at, like the meditation where you just sit and think. I like my guided meditation. It's probably the easiest and it works wonders for me. And for the INFJs I've worked with, I share like more on like in the boot camp, but decluttering actually is part of that. Also the physical decluttering, but to recognize what kind of thoughts are going on in your mind and they're keeping you from actually focusing your thoughts on who you want to become, how you want to make that happen. So for us, these two things, visualizing where you want to go and then to practice to tune out these subconscious thoughts that continuously happen in your mind, like that voice that isn't your biggest fan or your biggest helper or whatever you might call it. So let me see if we have. Okay. Should we take a selfish approach with pillar 1 to have a stronger guidance with pillar 2? Should we take a selfish approach with pillar 1 to have stronger guidance with pillar 2? I don't know if I understand the question correctly. So pillar 2 is all about relationship management. And of course, relationships always start with you. And yes, if you make sure that your energy is better, you will make better choices with relationships, definitely. Because think of it like this. We all strive to have some kind of feeling of value. We all strive to feel loved, appreciated, and like to feel at peace. And the more you can give that to yourself, the more you are like you feel strong and you feel, capable and you know where you're going and all of that, the easier it's going to be to make rational choices when it comes to your relationships. And then to decide, does that relationship deserve my attention? Does this relationship give me what I'm putting into it? Am I using somebody as a crutch? All of these things that might like happen on autopilot and they happen for INFJs very easily, they're going to get minimized. And you can still say, yes, I'm choosing to help that person. Yes, I'm choosing to be a mentor to that other person, but I know what's going on. I know how to handle this. I'm not, it's not a codependent thing. Like very often also with like, when we go to pillar 2, you'll see it's those relationships aren't supposed to be like something where you continuously feel like you give more than you're getting back. And this is the one thing I hear from INFJs all the time. Yeah, this friendship is working because I'm actually I'm not telling that to them, but I'm actually helping them feel better about themselves. A friendship, a relationship, everything that isn't like from a perspective of I'm a mentor and that is a person who gets mentored by me. We both know what's going on. This is obvious. Everything else like this, we gotta make sure it's 50-50. And if you feel like, okay, I'm giving 70% and the other person is giving 30, and you feel like, okay, if I go down to 50, that person isn't going to give 50. That person is going to stay at 30. They're going to give just as much as they're giving to me right now. And then it's going to be, okay, actually, I have to go down to 30, right? I mean, we're not talking about like 100 and 100 here, but you know what I'm saying? Like, the point is you have to start giving less into relationships, so it becomes equal. And you will see at first it will feel like, oh, okay, so I'm giving up on my friendships, or they're not going to care about me, or all of these things. But you will recognize that that's just not the case. You'll have really like deep and healthy relationships with these people, but there will be on a level where it's not toxic. It's not that your focus goes to them because it's easier than to focus on yourself. You start putting that energy into yourself, into where you want to go, and you actually start exuding like, your own energy, and you start connecting with new people, and it's going to be much more in alignment. And things change. Like I always say, like my best friend, when we were 20, I knew everything about her. I was so focused on making sure she's good, making sure that I know every single time I can do something for her. And yeah, at first it might sound like, oh yeah, you're an INFJ, you're just helpful. But the point was, it was also an excuse. It was an excuse so I didn't have to focus on what I actually want. I didn't know what my music taste was because I was so focused on, putting something on that she likes. Same thing with like, my future, like how do I want my life to look like? And sometimes when it feels so painful to go there, we actually use this as a quick fix. And now that I'm, completely different person, my identity has changed. I'm so full and like my energy is on a completely different level. It keeps expanding. I do actually know way less about my friends than I used to, but it's actually healthy. It's not like, it's not like somebody would say, oh, you're using your friends or you're not being there for them. I'm being there for them in a healthy amount, just as they are towards me. And now it doesn't feel awkward. Before, everything would have felt awkward. That wasn't, oh, I know everything about them and they don't know actually anything about me. That was my normal. And I have created a new normal. And that's what we talk about in bootcamp. And you'll see at first it might feel scary, but we take you by the hand. We do it together and we take small steps, and you see how you start waking up, you feel excited. Like, it just changes. We're not necessarily saying you just stop putting so much into these relationships. We say you start building more on yourself. You start, making sure that you tackle relationships one after the other that are not completely how you want them to be, maybe with a parent, maybe with a partner, whatever it might be, so we make sure you feel more safe. Same thing, like we make sure, okay, what is like your goal on a wealth level? Where do you want to be? What is your purpose? Where do you want it, like your vocation? What do you want to bring to the world that's going to make you happy? And what kind of priorities are we going to take to make happen? And so, things just move around, and before you know it, it just gets so much more exciting, the life that you're building, that you're not even aware of how you're pulling back from this quick fix that wasn't healthy to begin with. So as you see, I'm jumping a little bit, but of course, like those things are all interconnected. Okay, I know you have like already some questions, but I have to move on to pillar number 2. So please excuse me. Let's go to pillar number 2. So pillar number 1, before we head on, our sleep, it's nutrition, it's your exercise, it's decluttering, and it's meditation and visualization. So all of those things are very important for INFJs to make sure that you get the energy that you need in order to move forward, in order to make these things happen. Because very often, and I've already recorded some videos on this, we INFJs can get lost in this personal development trap. That's how I always like call it. I just don't feel good enough about myself. There's just something wrong. Let me figure out what it is. And you do this and you forget that the biggest changes are going to happen if you tap into your extroverted functions. We don't have to talk about functions. We don't have to go deeper into it, but we need to find that balance. And one of them is to start expressing more who you are, finding out who you are, right? It's like you go to the movies with friends. What movie do you want to watch? I don't care. That was my general answer. No, it's like, if I had to make a choice, what would it be? You teach yourself to know yourself more and to take action. And this is like something we really have to understand. Very often we feel like, I'm never going to be able to do so much physically, as in like make things happen, be proactive. And because I'm not, I'm going to choose the role of the sidekick, of the person behind somebody else, because then I'm going to get a better life. But it will always be at the cost of, who you actually are. You're always adapting and living in somebody else's world. And this can never fulfill you as much as, you can fulfill yourself if you choose your own path, the way you see the world, and you start creating it. And then you'll recognize, okay, maybe my SE isn't like, the one of like somebody who's an ESTP who gets all of this stuff done, but you stop comparing yourself. You say, this is what I can do. Let me make the best out of it. And we don't have any disadvantage to any other type because, maybe your SE isn't as strong, but guess what? Your NI is. So you might not be able to do 100 things a day, but if your vision is strong enough and you know exactly where to go, it's enough to do that one thing. But we need to have that energy to make that one thing happen. Okay, so relationship management. So relationship management, we put into different categories. So we have work relationships. So I think it's really important to understand that it's not about, I don't want to be bullied. I don't want to be, I just want to be left alone. No, you need to expect more. You need to say, I need to be in an environment where I'm feeling appreciated, where I'm showing up in such a way where my gifts are, wanted to be exposed, where I actually bring this forward. If your boss is somebody who just puts you down, don't walk, run. And I know it's hard. It's not going to be that we force anybody to quit their job tomorrow. It's small steps. To say, okay, first off, how am I going to set boundaries? How am I going to make sure that I really make the best out of this place and the relationships I have? And then to think about, okay, do I want to go somewhere else? Again, this is just one example. We really make sure that we don't do all the things. Like, start with one relationship type. Is it maybe your romantic relationship? Is it your work relationship? Is it family? Is it friends? Like, these things, like, they take over so much of our lives and of our thoughts that, taking on the thing that bothers you the most is going to make a difference. And maybe that's really saying, I need to set stricter boundaries with a family member. I need to make sure that I feel safe, that if that means we're going to be separated for a while, a little bit, like whatever it is, that I'm going to make that happen. And we don't just talk about theory here. We talk about, let me just open the pillars here. We talk about, I need to fix those to stay here. We talk about like really how to take action. Like, one of the things that we talk about all the time is we as INFJs need to have a schedule. If it's not something that is externally observable, it isn't really happening. Meaning, thinking about it, I should forgive my sister or something. It's in your mind. You need to have it in your schedule. As in, I'm going to have lunch with my sister on Saturday, and I'm going to bring up that topic that that is uncomfortable for me, but I need to make sure we have talked about it. Like similar, like with pillar 1, to make sure on Thursdays I meditate 5 minutes. Who cares? Like, it's only 5 minutes. It's not going to change my life. Well, that's not the point. The point is that you create a new identity that is based on, I am somebody who meditates on Thursdays. Like, I am somebody who brushes my teeth. And if I wouldn't brush my teeth, I would feel horrible. That's why I'm doing it. I'm not even thinking about it. Like, it's part of who I am. And that's how all these things work. And like, you know, for us INFJs, it's so difficult sometimes to distinguish between what is really my thought or what is like an action step. And that's why we always say, is it externally observable? And these things are always the things that are not fun for us INFJs. But if you include them into your dream, you know, they sort of become like a byproduct that doesn't bother you too much. And before you know it, you actually have created peace. Like maybe that conversation with your sister in that example is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to take energy out of you. You know, we increase our physical energy management. It's going to take energy out of you. It's going to be harder than any conversation you've had with her before you always tried to tiptoe. But once you've done this, once you've made sure that this happened, there's going to be a change in the dynamic. At first, she's going to try to push back and she's going to see, no, the new version of you isn't budging anymore. Before you know it, she's, you know, stepping back. And then it doesn't require any access energy on your part to maintain that new dynamic. And this always works. People either adapt or they remove themselves from you. It always is that the person wins, you know, it's not really winning, but the person who persists in this is who I am. I'm not going to change myself to make you comfortable. This is who I am, and that let the other person decide, are they going to adapt or are they going to remove themselves? Because yes, you can make compromises, and all of us do, right? It's totally okay to make them, but there are certain things that just like make us shrink, make us dim our light, and then we can't really make it happen the way we want to. And that's what we're working on in pillar 2. So let me see. Do we have any questions concerning this? Okay, so here, as an example, Wenzes, I'm 58, and my sisters have kept me the black sheep all my life. The two have judged me wrongly. I confronted them, but I feel I have to let them go and love them afar from me. What do you think? Help. Definitely love them from afar. There is no other, you say, you try the conversation. They have the right to make you the bad guy in their story. I think this is super important for us INFJs to understand. It's okay for other people to make you the bad guy of their story. That doesn't mean that you have to be the bad guy of your story. You did all you can do. You're staying in your lane. You're staying like healthy, happy, free. We're adults. We don't have to, play by those rules, although it feels like on a subconscious level because it feels like it's family. And you say, those are the rules. Either you obey them, either you talk to me in this way, the way I feel good about it, or we just don't talk. And stay really make this a point, because you don't have to really make that choice, right? You don't have to say, do I give up on my family or do I make compromises? All you say is, I deserve to be treated with respect. I deserve to be treated fairly. Of course, I want my family around me, but not at the price of my own well-being. So you make that choice for yourself, and then the others can decide if they want to be in your life. Are they going to adapt, make you feel the way you expect them to make you feel? Or are they saying, I don't want to have a relationship with you? See, that's a whole different thing. Because the way our mind works very often for us INFJs, we think that's the way they are, and I don't want to lose them, so I'm going to adapt myself to them. It's harder for them to adapt, and they're not going to understand me. But that's not for you to decide, right? Your well-being, your inner peace has to be always at the forefront. The way I learned this was through huge trauma, trying to save another person, really giving up all of myself until I recognized this is just my downfall. the more you keep giving and the more you keep yourself open so people can hit you like with metaphorical knives, and you might be the strongest person alive, it will, it will crush you. It will bring you down, and then you can't help anybody. But like lastly, so you have to make sure that you're good. And then they can decide, are they going to adapt or not? And if they want to make you like the bad guy in their story, let them be. Like, I have learned this from myself. I am the bad guy in other people's stories, and that's okay. I know what is right for me, and it's their prerogative to make those choices for them. Okay, Catherine says, early bird link is not working. Are you sure? No, I mean, like, they can't really be because I already had people using the code before we started this. So I don't really want to mention it here, but you can, if you have any problems, just write me. My team will look into it afterwards. Okay, so here we have a question. How can I work on personal accountability? I keep most promises I make to other people, but have a hard time keeping promises I make to myself. So this is something that we work in, like at boot camp as well. At first, it's good to have external accountability. That's why it's good to have a mentor. It's good to have a group, because you mention it once, and then there are other people who mirror back to you. Okay, you said that last time, and you don't want to disappoint them. You don't want to, be somebody who doesn't keep their word. That is, of course, I wouldn't call it a quick fix. It's something that will help you get into the right direction. My goal is, of course, that you become as independent at this as possible, that there is no other way, that you like really feel like you are making, like you're keeping the promises you make to yourself. This is like our biggest goal in this. And that's why we say, the same example with being like going to bed at 3 o'clock, having a goal, going to bed at 10. You say, I'm going to go to bed at 10. You don't keep that promise. Then you say, okay, I'm going to go to bed at, 1:30. You're still not keeping your promise. But then you say, okay, I'm going to try 5 minutes before 3 or 2:30. And then you keep your promise. What we want is to find that place where making that change is like easier for you than going against an old habit, because then you actually create a new normal. The people who have, seemingly the biggest willpower are the ones who need to use it the least, right? They make choices that make it easier for them. So, they don't have junk food at home. They don't put themselves into a situation where they say, I have to go to bed at 10 o'clock. They know it's completely normal. I'm a human being, that I'm not going to make that shift. It doesn't matter how small that step is. Rather keep a promise than making something huge happen. That's why I'm always saying, being able to switch from 3 o'clock to 2:30 and really sticking with this is the most important thing. It's not the most important thing to go to 10 o'clock. And that's how you learn to keep your promises. When I first started this channel, for example, the promises I made to myself were, you're going to get dressed on a Sunday. You're going to make that happen. You cannot imagine how hard it was for me. It's easy, of course, to get up on Monday and, people wait for you at work, or when you have, you're meeting somebody. But to get up to do something that is just for you, where nobody's going to tell you, why didn't you do this? I'm waiting on you. Nothing like this. That's really, really hard. And so I wasn't putting too much pressure on myself. I wasn't saying, I have to make all of these things happen. What I said to myself, I want to be proud of the person I am when I go to bed at night. And I'm aiming for success stories. So if I'm saying the only way I'm going to be proud of myself is, let's say you want to write a book. If I write 10 pages and you haven't written anything in months, of course, you're going to be disappointed. But if you say, I'm aiming for success stories, I want to be proud of the person that I am. So I'm going to set the goal that every day I'm going to sit down, or once a week I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write one sentence. And you might say, again, one sentence, that's not going to make the difference. The point is that you're putting in, I read this in Atomic Habits, you're putting in points or something like this for your new identity. Every single time you show up, you open that notebook, you write that one sentence, you're like, you're counting votes. That's what he said. You're counting votes for the new identity, who is somebody who writes on their book. That's it. That's how I have learned. That's how I teach my INFJ clients, also the participants in the bootcamp. We've done this so many times. And this is really how it works. And this is our motto. It's really more important to change that identity, to make that switch, to aim for success stories than to really reach that one specific goal. Because you'll see, yeah, of course it's nice to go to bed at 10 o'clock, but why do we actually want to do this? We want to do this so you have enough energy to, go after your dream, making things happen. And so that 10 o'clock doesn't really matter. It's like one step in the whole process. And in order to make that happen, we have to be satisfied with making small steps, because every single time you have a success story, it inspires you to aim for the next success story, because it makes you feel good intrinsically, right? That's how it works. Okay, I think I'm going to move on to 3, just so we can make sure that we go through all of them. Okay, hold on. So, yeah, I thought I can kind of, hold on. Yeah, I thought I can like keep this, but for some reason they go away every single time. Just want to keep them in if somebody just shows up later. Okay, so 3rd pillar is wealth management. And wealth management, we talked about it in the beginning, is more like, it's not just a philosophical question. We're talking about let's set a financial goal. Let's talk about, where do you want to be? Do you want to have debt? Do you still want to have debt? Do you want to pay that off? Do you want to have savings? What is your level of, I feel comfortable with that kind of amount in my bank account? But these are just the technical steps. And we really talk about it. We set goals, we make things happen. But the bigger issue here is INFJs and wealth management. It's to understand that as long as we see wealth as something bad, as long as we say, I don't care about wealth, as long as we say, I want to help people, I'm all about being in alignment with myself, I don't care about wealth, you're putting yourself in an unfavorable position. Because think about it, you have to pay bills. The people who were the least about money, who think the least about money, are the people who actually have enough. And you don't have to become like the people you don't like. And so, Jen Sincero said it perfectly. She said, yeah, if I talk about I like pizza, it's okay, I like pizza. But if you say, oh, I like money, yeah, but I also care about people. I want to stop and smell the roses. I want to care about being in integrity with myself. Why do we have to put that disclaimer there? That in itself shows you that there is a misalignment as in how we feel about this. We should talk about wealth and money we're talking about past the salt. The fact that it has such a negative connotation, in particular, and we know in our society to begin with, but in particular in our INFJ society, because it feels like I'm a sellout. I'm going to buy things to impress people that I don't like. No, we just got to look at the right role models. You can do whatever you want with your wealth. You can make sure that you don't have to work for people that you don't like. You can make sure that you can add to causes, do philanthropical work. You can decide, there's so much that where you can decide how to use that. And it doesn't have to be anything negative. It can be as I said, I'm not saying, oh, I love pepperoni pizza, but I also like helping people. And I also like to, stop and smell the roses. It's not an either or question, right? And so we learn how to get through that. And then we say, let's set some goals. As long as we're not setting goals, things are not happening. And then we need to start tracking, because whatever gets tracked really stays in your mind. It's so easy to lose the focus of getting to your, like, your wealth goal. And you might think, okay, what's the big deal if I stop thinking about wealth? There's nothing wrong with it, as long as in the end of the month, you're not worrying about how to pay your bills, or you're not saying, oh, I wish I could go on that vacation, but you can't. Or you say, I would like to join boot camp, but I can't, right? These are all situations that have happened because we have this push-pull relationship with wealth. But if we make choices, we decide, okay, in order to live the lifestyle I want, I need to actually have a job that makes that kind of money. And I don't want to do all of these things that I can think of on the top of my mind. What scenario would be possible where I could increase my wealth, whatever that might be for you? So I feel comfortable. I feel like I can allow myself more. I feel at peace. And you'll see, we also talk about the last point here is wealth can be a fuel for your vocation. The reason why I was able to start my vocation, which was this channel, which was to help INFJs, was because I had enough security in my wealth management that I didn't have to worry about that. I could spend my thoughts on building something new. My thoughts weren't going into, oh, how am I going to pay this? Where am I going to go next month? All of these things. I felt secure. I felt things were going on. And then I used the excess money I had to push my business. So in the beginning, when I was still working, before I was able to make that switch, I had people already who edited my videos because I didn't have time for that. I had people who helped me with promotional work. I used my wealth to fuel my vocation because I knew this is what I wanted to do. And in the beginning, it didn't even bring any money. And I thought maybe this will bring me money, 10 years down the road. I never expected it to go this fast, but I did it because having my vocation in my life is what made me feel full. Giving is what made me feel full. And I was able to do that because I felt secure in that other area. Okay, so let me see if you have some questions on this. Yeah, we're sort of running out of time, so I just want to make sure that we tap into the last two ones as well. Yeah. So she says, I'm planning to have 2 savings accounts, one for myself, my house, another for charity and church. Perfect. See, these are the things, nobody tells you you have to buy a car that you can impress people with. You can say, I want to have something where I can add to the causes that are important to me. That's what fills up my heart. That's what makes me feel good. That's where I want to put my energy, and money is energy in the end, I want to put into. So you make sure you feel safe, and you make sure that your purpose or the thing that you want to contribute to also gets your attention. And then it's okay, let's set specific goals. What are steps to take? What are before you know it, it has become this thing that has taken over, and it doesn't cause you any willpower. Very often it's at the end of the month, so many people feel okay, nothing is left. But if you have a new baseline, you practice it by, for example, money comes in, you directly put something away. And it always starts with an amount that you don't really feel, right? Because if you feel oh, this is missing, you're going to go back to it. It's so much psychology behind it. It's not just a logical thing. And we're creating a new identity for whom this is easy, normal. How we had that question earlier of, how do I keep the promises I make to myself? We make small changes that might seem too small for you, which is in 99% the case. It doesn't matter. It's I brushed my hair. Yes, success story. this is really important. People tell you, oh, if you don't set big goals, things are like not going to happen. As long as you keep increasing your goals, everything's going to be fine. But you have to make sure that you are counting votes towards somebody who keeps the promises they're making to themselves, that is having success stories. And it really starts with those small things. Before you know it, these small things turn into big things, and it doesn't require any willpower. It doesn't require any sacrifice, psychologically speaking. And that's when you see the big results and the happiness that starts increasing in your life. Because think about it. I mean, like, why would you do something if it doesn't bring you any joy? If you say, okay, I'm going to work out because I'm supposed to work out, and every single time it's like dreadful, and like, it's just like everybody expects me to. No, our goal is to become somebody who likes to work out. So let's do something that you like. Do it at a frequency that is good for you, that makes your heart pump, right? And that's how it goes with everything, with our wealth management, with our vocation, right? There is no amount of that's right or that's wrong. We just want you to feel free. We want you to feel at peace. We want you to feel secure, and we want you to feel you can go after the dreams that you're having, and feel like you're allowing yourself to enjoy things, and it's not a constant sacrifice in your life. Okay, okay, super chat. I'm so sorry. I missed this before, but third eye open show how to make sense of the visions. I have no idea. How to make sense of the visions. Like, if you have visions, like as I said, with third eye, I just don't have any experience with that. It's not that I have anything against it or anything. It's just not my field, but that is beside the point, actually, because what you're asking is how to make a sense of the vision. So you have a vision, you have to really look into it. So start writing down as much as you know, and start asking yourself, what is the step I could take today to get closer to this? I think it's like extremely important for us to understand that there is this vision and then there's reality. And that vision might be very, very large, and it just overwhelms you, and you feel like, okay, I can't make that happen. I can't make that happen. And this actually fits perfectly with pillar 4. So I just want to go through all of them quickly before we run out of time. And then to say, what can I do that will get me closer to this in comparison to my current situation? That is the biggest that's the biggest thing. So for example, let's say you have this dream of being a singer. Singer. And right now you're working as an accountant at a company who's, doing soaps. So, and you don't see any kind of chance to do anything that has to do with singing. Well, becoming an accountant at a music production company, or an accountant at a record label or something like this, is definitely a step closer to that. So you might say, well, like, I'm still an accountant, like, how is that going to make a difference? You're going to surround yourself with people who are closer to the vision that you currently are. And trust me, when you're at that new place with that new energy, it will show you what the next step is. Because we can only see what we can see from our current state. Every single time you improve your energy level, you improve your, it can be that you say, okay, I'm going for a bigger salary. I'm making sure that I surround myself with people who are more ambitious, even if it isn't the exact same thing that you want, but it's the best thing you can think of. Like, remember, singer, I don't know how to get there. The only thing I can think of is become an accountant at a record company. That in itself is already the next step. You make that happen, and then trust me, once you're there, you will know what the next step is. How you knew now how to get there. Maybe it's to move within that company. Maybe it's to talk to people that you get to know that will help you how to start, exposing what you can do, right? I always say, every single time you climb a mountain, even if it isn't the right mountain, it will give you a better view. It will show you what the next step is that you have to take. So let me see if I can find something. Okay, so here we have actually, this is me. I want to sing, I cook and clean instead. For a world famous singer. He has no idea I sing. Would be inappropriate. I think I'll just sing an a cappella on YouTube for now. Well, but the thing is, you're surrounding yourself with that person. How can that not help you to move forward? How can being in the presence of somebody who's living your dream not helping you to move forward? That in itself might be the inspiration to say, I'm going to sing a cappella on YouTube. This isn't like a bad thing. This is the exciting thing. Maybe if you wouldn't be in that situation around that person, you wouldn't have the inspiration for it. But if you see it every day, if you see that energy, if you say, oh, I feel this is so much, that will push you to make something happen of saying, I need to have some kind of outlet. I will put it out on YouTube because that's the outlet you can think of right now. And maybe if you weren't in that situation, you wouldn't have that push. So good for you. Make it happen. Go sing a cappella on YouTube. This isn't like, a small step. This is a huge step forward. It's a huge, overcoming of your fears, because remember, it's not just about, oh, is somebody going to find me on YouTube? It's every single time you do something like this, you overcome fears, you overcome like inner limiting beliefs. Like you have to face so many fears that once you've done this and it doesn't scare you anymore, you will know what the next step is, right? But you don't know it until you take that step. So please go ahead and do it. This is an amazing step. Yeah, so Mariana says, I need to take part in the bootcamp. Yes, join. Like, we're an amazing group. We're like continuously growing. It's going to be amazing. And I can't wait to start with you. Oh no, 70 seconds. Yeah. Don't, you can still join. The only thing we have now that I said within this boot camp, like within this masterclass and everybody before, if you join now, you're going to win, you're going to enter to win one coaching session with me. You can, of course, join. We have until like next week on Saturdays, our first live call. Until then, you can join boot camp. And if you join until Monday, like 48 hours from now, you can still use the coupon code for the early bird prize. So that's just it. So let me just give you a couple of pointers for pillar 5. So you can use this in your life. Let me just open these up too again. Okay, so pillar 5. Pillar 5 is about like looking at your life and understanding, I'm an INFJ. I don't have to do all the things. I just have to do the right things, right? So we're talking about what do you do, for example, that is like, or what are you maybe not doing? What is not urgent but important? Like that's just one of the things, but that's the thing I want to give you as like the last pointer for today. So think of it like this. Saturday comes around, you have to do laundry. Laundry, not important but urgent. Like you have to make it happen because, on Monday you need clean clothes. But in the big things, like in the big scheme of things, is that really going to make your life move forward? No. It still like needs to get done, but it's not that important. On the other hand, you want to be, the example from before, you want to be a singer. And the thing I know what to do is put out a video on YouTube once a week, for example. So Saturday comes around and you say, okay, I'm going to do laundry first. Before you know it, it's 2 p.m. You're tired. You're like, oh, I had to go grocery shopping before, and nothing happened. And you never recorded that video. That is how most people go through life. What we have to learn, and as INFJs particularly, remember, we don't have all the energy in the world. We don't need it. We don't need to make the right, all the choices or all the steps. We just have to make the right ones. So if you say to yourself, I have to prioritize what is important and not urgent. Remember, it's important to make that video, but it's not urgent. Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to call you and say, why didn't you record this video? I'm waiting on it. Nothing like this. This isn't urgent. This is important for your life. Every single time you have a choice between doing something that is important and not urgent versus something that is urgent and not important, you always start with the important stuff. So come Saturday, you're going to record that video first, no matter what. That's the only goal you have for the day, because by 2 p.m. you will have recorded it. And guess what? Even if it takes you all day, even if it's 8 p.m. in the evening, you're going to do that laundry. You're going to do it anyway. It doesn't require mental power. It needs to be done. And things that need to be done, we're going to find a way to make them happen. But we're not going to find a way to make things happen that are going to move our life forward. So we have to prioritize them. Okay, on that note, that's just one of the things we talk about in priority management. I wish you an amazing week. I'm looking forward to seeing as many of you in boot camp. It's going to be an amazing opportunity. And again, it's lifetime access. So once you're in it for every other life round. You can decide when to join, and like we always pick it up at your current level and we improve it, right? So I wish you all a great week. Thank you so much for participating, for all your questions, for all your participation. And then I see you soon. Bye.